Hello, Pewter people. Scott Reynolds here with another Pewter Pulse. The Bucs announced some significant coaching changes on Friday afternoon, and there's one that really stands out to me. As many of you who read my content at pewterreport.com or watch me on the Pewter Report podcast know, I've been very critical of George Edwards, who has been Tampa Bay's outside linebackers coach for the past two seasons. Well, Todd Bowles replaced Edwards with inside linebackers coach Larry Foote, and I absolutely love the move. In addition, Bowles rehired Mike Caldwell to coach inside linebackers and replace Foote at that position. I'll get into the significance of these moves on the coaching staff in today's Pewter Pulse. But first, your reminder, hit the thumbs up button and give this video a like. Also, leave a comment. I love reading the comments. And doing those two things helps us get in front of more Bucs fans like you and helps us grow our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to. Just hit the subscribe button and join the almost 18,000 Bucs fans who have done just that. Now on to today's topic, which is how the return of Larry Foote as the outside linebackers coach should give the Bucs pass rush a big boost. The hiring of George Edwards to serve as outside linebackers coach a few years ago was a bit of a curious move. He had plenty of years serving as a defensive coordinator in the league, as well as coaching linebackers. But Edwards had never been a position coach where he coached edge rushers, and he wasn't a pass rush coach. In his first season, the Bucs outside linebackers produced 22 sacks in all, led by rookie Yaya Diaby, who had 7.5. But that number fell to just 12 total sacks from all of Tampa Bay's edge rushers combined, with Diaby leading that group with just 4.5 last year. That's unacceptable. I've always loved defense, and I've seen two of the best defensive line coaches in NFL history up close and personal in Tampa Bay in my 30 years of covering the Bucs. Rod Marinelli, who coached Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice, and others under both Tony Dungy and John Gruden, and Joe Cullen, who spent 2 years coaching Gerald McCoy and Jockey Smith on Lovie Smith's staff here in Tampa as well. I know what good pass rush coaches look like. And Marinelli and Cullen, who you see here, inspired me to coach defensive line and be a defensive coordinator for my son's Pop Warner team for 6 years when they were little. It takes a certain type of edge and a certain type of mentality to be an edge rusher and a defensive lineman. It's primal. You are the hunter and the slayer up front. Your job is to hunt quarterbacks and kill drives. And it takes a certain kind of coach to get that message across and foster that mentality. The best pass rush coaches that I've ever seen are the yellers and screamers and full of energy and intensity. They're typically the fire starters on the coaching staff. Larry Foote is that type of guy on Todd Bowles' staff. And I'm thrilled he's back coaching outside linebackers. And I bet Yaya Diaby and Chris Braswell and others are going to be excited about this too. The more low-key intellectual types are less effective when it comes to coaching pass rush, from what I've seen in my 30 years of covering the Bucs. Former defensive line coaches like Jethro Franklin, Jay Hayes, and George Edwards are in that category for me. Hayes, who coached defensive line under Dirk Cutter, was so bad that he was the first assistant coach that I called to be fired. And he was fired after the 2017 season. Maybe somebody listened to me about Edwards too this offseason. Now, just because you don't have any experience coaching a position doesn't mean that you can't be good at it. That was the case with Foote, a former inside linebacker who played in the NFL. And he had coached that position before in Arizona, but not outside linebackers until he was hired, along with Todd Bowles, by Bruce Arians in Tampa Bay in 2019 to do so. Foote inherited Jason Pierre-Paul and Carl Nassib and helped turn new, unheralded free agent signing Shaq Barrett into a monster pass rusher in 2019. Barrett came to the Bucs from the Broncos, where he had 14 career sacks in 4 years as a backup. In his first year under Foote's tutelage, Barrett had 19.5 sacks, which led the league and set a new single-season franchise record. Barrett became a two-time Pro Bowler, the franchise tag player, and posted 37.5 of his 45 sacks as a Buccaneer, with Foote as his position coach. Pierre-Paul also made the Pro Bowl in 2020, with the team leading 9.5 sacks, and JPP and Barrett came up huge in the postseason and were the driving force for the Bucs winning Super Bowl 55. Foote brings a ton of energy, and I think he's going to do wonders for Yaya Diaby, Chris Braswell, Marquise Watts, and Jose Ramirez in terms of their development. He's incredibly hands-on as a coach, which is something that Rod Marinelli and Joe Cullen were also famous for. Marinelli has since retired, but Cullen's been coaching the defensive line in stops like Baltimore and more recently in Kansas City, where he's won a couple Super Bowl rings over the past few years. And he's taken the games of Chris Jones and George Karlaftis to new heights. I also love the return of Mike Caldwell to the Bucs coaching staff. He coached the inside linebackers from 2019 to 2021 and helped develop Devin White during his rookie season, kept Levante David playing at a Pro Bowl level, and squeezed the last bit of productivity out of reserve Kevin Minter at the end of his career. It's not that Larry Foote did a bad job coaching inside linebackers. I just like Caldwell better in that role, and I like Foote better overseeing the edge rushers. With so much uncertainty at the inside linebacker position this offseason, Caldwell will have his hands full, but I trust that he's the right guy for the job. I think I've been pretty fair in my coverage about Todd Bowles over the years. Half of you think I'm a Todd Bowles apologist. The other half of you think I'm out to get Bowles, which tells me I'm doing my job. I've been critical of Bowles when it's been warranted, but I really have to give him his props and give him credit for shaking up the coaching staff this offseason. I wish he would have done a little bit more in terms of the secondary, but perhaps George Edwards' new role as defensive pass game coordinator can help out there. Edwards is a cerebral thinking man's coach like Bowles is, and so I understand why Bowles wanted to keep him on the staff in some capacity, and maybe that's his best fit. And let's hope that Charlie Strong, who hasn't coached defensive line since he coached Kevin Carter back in the 1990s at Florida, can take defensive line coaching in Tampa Bay on as Casey Rogers' replacement, the way that Foote took coaching edge rushers for the Bucs the first time in 2019 to new heights. Kudos to Bowles for bringing Mike Caldwell back to coach inside linebackers and giving the Bucs pass rush some necessary boost with the energetic Larry Foote in charge of the outside linebackers. Now, if the Bucs do select another edge rusher with the premium draft pick this year, I'd actually feel a lot better with Foote leading that group. Wouldn't you? Folks, we are on our way to 18,000 subscribers on Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out for more Pewter Pulse videos and our Pewter Report podcasts. You can subscribe to that by hitting the subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And visit pewterreport.com for all of the NFL scouting combine, free agency, and draft coverage of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'll be back soon with the new Pewter Pulse.